Welcome to Backdoors and Breaches. Let's meet today's contestants. Networking wizard, Ronnie Wong. Security specialist, Adam Gordon. Lead systems admin, Mike Roderick. And your incident master, Don Pezet. Now let's play Backdoors and Breaches.
Hello everybody and welcome to a very special episode of ITProTV. I say special because instead of our normal, regular learning content, we are playing a game. We're playing Backdoors and Breaches from the folks over at Black Hills InfoSec, and it is going to be a ton of fun. So I hope you're ready to get in and see how our team of experts handles a security incident in a fun roleplay type setting. Now to kick things off, let's introduce our players. You got a little preview in the intro video there, but we'll start off with, we'll do Mr. Adam Gordon first. So Adam is one of the edutators here at ITProTV who focuses largely in security. Adam, why don't you introduce yourself to our viewers?
So hello, everybody. I do spend a lot of time focusing on security and infrastructure and any and everything that may kind of fall into those buckets. Looking forward to spending time playing the game.
All right, and also joining us is Mr. Ronnie Wong, our resident network guru.
Hey, I'm Ronnie Wong, and I tend to spend a lot of my time, of course, dealing with matters in terms of Cisco training, CCNA, CCNP, and I try and actually learn something every day in networking that will help me to become a better networker.
He concerns himself with matters concerning Cisco and matters of the heart. All right, let's jump over to Mike, our resident Windows expert.
Hey guys, yep, Mike here, and I am the Windows guy. Spend most of my time in Windows Server administration, Windows client deployment, Azure, all of that fun stuff.
All right, well, those are our lucky contestants today, or our players. And what we're going to be doing is thrusting them into a situation, right? It's a little bit of role play, so we can have some fun with this, that we're going to be pretending that they work for a particular organization that is currently undergoing a security incident, and we're going to see the way that they respond to that. Now, Adam is going to be playing the role of the security officer for that organization, the IT security officer. We'll have Ronnie operating as the main network manager for the organization, and Mike acting as the lead system administrator. And these are typically three people that would be found on an incident response team, assuming you have a formal incident response team. Maybe you don't, in which case these are just three people that are hanging around the water cooler. And we're going to run through the process of how they would resolve that incident. Now, to facilitate all this, we're actually going to play a game called Backdoors and Breaches, which we've played on ITProTV before. If you're not familiar with it, let me give you a quick rundown. What it does is it ties a security incident to a role-play scenario, kind of like Dungeons and Dragons or any tabletop game, where you have players that are competing against something. But instead of fighting a dragon this time, we are fighting the evil hackers and trying to keep our network safe. Let's take a quick glance at the Backdoors and Breaches rules. First off, let me do another shout out for Black Hills Information Security and Active Countermeasures. They're the ones who put this game together. John Strand and his crew over there are very well known in the industry for penetration tests and security consulting. They're some of the best in the industry, and they created this as a tabletop exercise for their customers to help them prepare for incident management. And if you want to play, you can. There's a few different ways. The easiest way is if you have at least two people and you have one person operate as the incident master and then one or more people act as defenders. And they're going to use cards to kind of create that incident and move it forward. And the cards are divided up into a number of categories, and we'll learn more rules as we go along. But basically what it boils down to is we will have four aspects of the incident. There's the initial compromise, the way the attacker pivots and escalates, how the attacker establishes persistence, and then how the attacker is doing command and control and exfiltrating data. And throughout this adventure, our intrepid adventurers here are going to try and figure out what those four things are. They will have 10 rounds to do it. If they can figure out all four of those in 10 rounds, they win. If they can't, they lose. If they lose, the hackers win, which we don't want. So the other thing is, they are going to have to come up with ideas for how to figure these out. As they promote an idea, they will roll a die. We have 20-sided die that we're going to roll. And if they score a 1 through 10, they fail. An 11 through 20 is a pass. But like any good company, they have a few procedures. That's these blue cards here. And the procedures will give them an advantage. It will give them +3 on the roll when they're rolling to apply one. So if they can leverage one of their company's existing procedures, they'll be more likely to succeed. And that's true in real life. You know, the procedures are what help us be successful. But they don't have to use the procedure. They can come up with anything they want. They just get a bonus when they do. All right. So then each turn, they'll each take a try. Once a procedure's been used, it can't be used for 3 more turns, and then we basically come back around and give it a go, and hopefully they're able to resolve all this in 10 turns. All right, so that's basically what we're going to be doing here as we play Backdoors and Breaches. And remember, you too can play this at home. If you go to Amazon.com and search for Backdoors and Breaches, they sell the decks on there. You can buy them. They look like this, and they cost a blazing $10. Or you can get them for free at any of the conferences that Black Hills attends. And normally that's a lot of conferences right now. We've got the whole shutdown. But if you go to Wild West Hackin' Fest or ShmooCon, any of those conferences like that, you can usually find a Black Hills booth and they'll be giving away these decks free of charge right there. So definitely a way that you can jump in and participate, and fun tool to use at home and at work. All right, so that's what we're going to be doing. Now, before we stop for a quick break, I do want to do one thing. Let me bring up our play area here. And what you're going to see is I've already laid out the cards for our game. I've got 4 randomly selected Initial Compromise, C2 and Exfiltration, Persistence, and Pivot and Escalate cards. And I've got the 4 procedures that have been drawn for our players to use. And I want to go ahead and reveal those procedures now so that the team will have a chance to look at them. So I'm going to go ahead and flip these cards over, and we'll take a look at what they get and just do a quick review of those. And so just doing a quick glance, looks like the first one that we got here is server analysis. So it looks like the company has procedures in place for maintaining baselines of their servers, and that's going to be really handy because you can leverage that to spot anomalies. Our second procedure is endpoint analysis. That one got used a heck of a lot in our last game, so a good way to examine desktops and other things similar to server. We've got crisis management. We've got a legal team at our disposal, which is another useful tool. And then lastly, we have a whole suite of security utilities like NetFlow, Zeek, Bro, Real-Time Intelligent Threat Analytics, or RITA. All of those tools available and ready to rock in the moment of an incident. So that's actually fortunate for you guys. That's a good selection of policies and procedures. I think we'll be able to leverage those a few different ways. All right, so let's take a brief break to give the team time to look at the procedures and familiarize themselves with them. When we get back, we're going to kick off with our first round of Backdoors and Breaches.
With some online training companies, the instructors are just a picture on a screen, someone that you'll never meet. I'm getting bored just talking about it. But at ITProTV, we want you to know the people on the other side of the camera. That's why ITProTV offers weekly office hours. Each week, you're invited to tune in to the on-air page to chat live with one of the ITProTV edutainers.
So an edutainer is someone who takes a topic, an educational topic, and makes it more fun, enjoyable. My vision for ITProTV was to make the product that I wish I had when I got started.
Office hours are your chance to ask a burning question, get clarification on a topic in an ITProTV course, or discuss a specific exam. Join in on office hours on Wednesdays at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 10:30 a.m. Pacific Time, and 5:30 p.m. GMT. Check the weekly ITProTV newsletter to see which edutainers are on tap each week. Then log into ITProTV, click the on-air button, and start chatting with us. See you there.
Will you be in or near Gainesville, Florida anytime soon? Then you should come see ITProTV. Make plans to visit the studios. Get a tour. Meet your favorite edutainer. See what goes on behind the scenes every day to bring the best of classroom learning to IT professionals around the world. Simply chat with the member services team on the ITProTV website and let us know when you'll be visiting. We'll see you soon.
Welcome back, everybody. We are just about to start our game of Backdoors and Breaches, and you know, I forgot something kind of important in our introduction there. I said if you wanted to play Backdoors and Breaches, you could go on Amazon.com and buy a deck for $10. You absolutely can do that. But did you know you could play with ITProTV? If you are interested and want to remote in and play a game of Backdoors and Breaches with the whole team here, all you have to do is write "I want to play" in the chat room right now, and you'll be entered into a chance to play live with us later on this month. We're going to try and do this on a regular basis. It's a great way to learn and really just a great way to have some fun. So if you want to participate, again, just type "I want to play" and our team will collect that together, and you may be selected to join a live game with us. It'll be a lot of fun. All right, speaking of live games, we should probably start ours, since that's why we're here. And so I want to kick off with our scenario, which we already know a little bit, right? So I mentioned that Adam is the IT security officer, Ronnie is the network manager, Mike is the sysadmin for our organization. And you guys are just having a great day. You know, things are going all normal, and Adam makes the mistake of walking by the support desk, and he can hear a few calls that are coming in. And people are indicating that something is wrong with the internet. Several of them are saying, you know, I get to some websites just fine, most websites, but there's a couple of websites when I try to go to it, they're either slow or they're not working right. Not, you know, all the visual elements aren't lining up. There's a lot of problems that are going on. I think somebody needs to reboot the internet. And these are the conversations that you're kind of overhearing from the support desk. Now, you don't know at this point whether or not that is specifically a security incident, but it is a situation where the network is not functioning the way that it's supposed to, and that's gotten it onto the help desk's radar. Now, Adam, you've overheard this conversation. Where would you start in your role as the IT security officer?
So I would want to get a little bit of context, right? The internet not working and things like that can mean so many different things based on the users calling in and the story they're telling. We're often missing details when we're hearing one side of a conversation. So I'd want to know a little bit more before I even make a decision about where we should go. But looking at our policies, I'm not really sure that any of those policies would really be appropriate to start with, because we just don't really have any direction yet. So I'm not sure that I'd want to pull one of our policies in, but I would want to probably find out a little bit more from at least one of those help desk professionals that's been chatting with our users. I'd want to talk with them a little more, find out a little bit more about the detail they've been uncovering as users are calling in to cry for help and hit the easy button to reset the internet. So I'd want to find out some more details first.
Sure thing. All right, so we don't have a policy or procedure for that, so it's going to be just a naked roll. You'll roll the D20, and we'll see how you turn out.
All right, so I'm going to do that. When we roll the dice, I have to go to the upper left-hand corner and choose carefully, so I'm going to do that. And everybody cross your fingers. Let's see what we get here.
Nice. All right. Well, awesome. You know, an 11 or higher is a pass, and so what that means is you start to engage with some of the help desk people, and you know, this might be breaking the normal tier of escalation. You just happen to be walking by, but it never hurts. And you ask a few pointed questions. Now, Adam, just for the sake of our viewers, what would some of the questions be that you'd ask?
So the first thing I'd want to ask is, where are these users coming from in our company, right? So are they internal users, perhaps external users? Given the reality of our world right now, a lot of them are probably working remotely from home. And so I'd want to know where they're located. I'd also want to know what roles they have in the company. Are they managers, perhaps more senior individuals, perhaps normal information workers? So I'd want to start by just understanding a little bit more fully the profile of the users that are having issues and the kinds of responsibilities they may be having and the way they're connecting.
All right, so you are starting off with establishing a scope of the incident. And so what you find out is that this seems to only be affecting employees that are there in your headquarters office. So they're just the people that are in-house. And it doesn't seem to be discriminating based on role. It's people across the company that are reporting in these kind of weird intermittent issues that are popping up when accessing assorted websites. So that's some of the information that you're able to gather. That is a success, although it's not enough to reveal one of the cards. So we've got to get a little more detailed before we figure out one of the actual aspects of the incident. Now, you're going to hand over to Ronnie next, and let's treat it this way. You know, Ronnie wasn't walking by the help desk, so you've gathered a little information, Adam, and it's probably enough to say, you know what, I need to engage the rest of the team. what is a suggestion you'd pass on to Ronnie to get him started?
So being that Ronnie is our resident network master, I'd want to let Ronnie know that we seem to be having an issue that emanates from internally inside the organization in headquarters. And that seems to be affecting our web servers in particular, based on what we know. So that way he could begin to not only understand maybe where he should spend some time establishing our initial response, but he may also need to bring in other resources, and he can start to narrow those down based on the information we've gathered.
All right, so Ronnie, the ball is now in your court, and a lot of people don't think necessarily of network engineers as being security professionals, but the reality is availability is one of the tenets of security. So you got to make sure things are available and working. And if people are having problems getting to websites, that breaks availability. So where would you start?
So initially, when everything was saying that it was limited to on-site, I started actually trying to say, well, they may be wireless versus wired. So I was thinking that we might actually have to determine what access that they're actually getting to the network itself to see if it's actually a networking issue itself. I don't know if that really falls under the endpoint analysis or not, but to actually try and determine something like that, I'd probably try and replicate the issue by getting a little bit more details from the help desk, seeing if I can actually get that same particular issue going on. So I'm not really sure if that falls underneath that particular procedure.
I think endpoint analysis would be covered, that you're basically evaluating how those endpoints are functioning, how they're configured. If this were like virus activity, obviously we'd see that with endpoint analysis, but endpoint analysis can mean a lot of things. So I'll allow that one.
All right. So time to roll?
So go ahead and roll. Let's see what you find.
All right.
Big numbers, big numbers.
A 10. All right.
Oh, fail.
Yep. So you don't find out a whole heck of a lot, although from talking to the help desk, you do find that this is affecting users of different types of hardware platforms, even some mobile device users, if people are on their phone or tablet, wireless, wired. It doesn't seem to be discriminatory there. But that's all you're able to find. So.
Wait, did he use a procedure?
Oh, he did. Shoot.
Yes.
Yes.
Look at me being the bad incident manager. All right, so you got a +3 on that roll, so you actually did succeed. Okay, so let me adjust this. So first off, everything I just said is true, right? So you did find that it affected multiple systems, but you actually find a little bit more while you're digging around. You find that when people are saying that they're not getting internet or not getting connectivity to a website or whatever, you check. And the internet connectivity appears to be functioning fine. Your WAN link is fine. The clients are actually able to ping out to their gateway, but you notice that the gateway is not what it should be. So on some devices, they are showing a incorrect, well, it's not that it's a totally incorrect gateway. It's that they are connecting, and it's a little intermittent, that you're getting various like packet loss and things. The MAC address looks a little strange for what's showing up for the gateway. Things just don't look quite right on the affected machines.
Do I roll again?
All right, so, well, actually, that's a pretty good discovery, right? But again, it's still not quite enough to reveal a card. So you're going to hand off to Mike on the sysadmin side. Do you have any advice to give to him?
Well, I'd probably let him know, kind of that same issue is that it doesn't seem to really be network related, but we did find that one issue. So at that point, I would hand that off to him to actually see whether he wants to go and do some type of server discovery or, more networking issues.
All right, so Mike, the endpoint analysis side is out. The other procedures are still available to you. You are, the person who runs the servers and that level of infrastructure. What do you do?
I'm torn here because I do think, some server analysis might help us. I also think running some of our security tools in this case, because something is obviously messing with the configuration of our machines. They're getting the wrong gateway address temporarily. I'm thinking they're having some name resolution issues or redirection, and I'm not liking that. So not being, I think I'll wait and let Adam pull the security card, and I'm going to go with my server analysis and just see if I can see anything on our side that might be either somehow been maliciously compromised, and it's causing some of this misconfiguration for our clients.
All right, so let's give us a roll and let's see how you do.
All right, here we go.
Nice.
All right.
And
Nice.
did you said you did apply server analysis?
Server analysis, yep.
Okay. All right, so let me flip that one over so I don't forget, like I did last time. And, all right, so you take a look at the servers, and you take what Ronnie told you, that this gateway doesn't look quite right, things are behaving a little weird, and you actually see some of that same behavior on your servers. And you dig a little bit deeper, and without leveraging full-on security tools, you have a lot of tools that are built into just the regular operating system that you can leverage. And you see that at the link layer, LLMNR, shoot, now I put myself in the spot to remember what it stands for.
Multicast Name Resolution Protocol.
Thank you for saving my bacon on that one. You see that when your servers are reaching out to identify like the gateway and other resources, that they're getting multiple responses back. And that's not a normal thing. And what you've done is you just stumbled upon the pivot and escalate card. Let's take a look at that real quick. I probably could have cheated and used that to not have to remember what LLMNR stands for. Oh, no, it doesn't have it on there either. All right, so what you're seeing here, the way the Black Hills guys put it is, for years, Landman was the worst thing in Windows. Then LLMNR said, stand back and hold my beer. So in this case, the attacker is taking advantage of that to be able to masquerade as other devices on the networks. When you're trying to discover gateway, file storage, other things, potentially certain other websites, it's jumping in and taking over the role of those devices. That would explain why Ronnie was seeing unusual gateway type activity and why Adam heard these various reports from different people on the network about potentially not being able to get out. So,
Nice.
so we have discovered our first of the 4 cards. We are
All right, team.
25% of the way on to a victory. There you go. That was terrible. All right, so all right, so Mike, now that you have that information in hand and have revealed that first card, you're going to hand things back over to Adam. Do you have any suggestions for him?
Yeah, Adam, I think at this point we're looking for some rogue devices on our network. Still don't know how they got in either, but they've definitely got something on our network that is chit-chatting with everything else. So maybe looking at traffic. I don't know. I'll leave that to you.
Okay. All right. Well, since we only have 2 policy cards currently in play, and crisis management is probably not going to do us any good right now, I'm thinking our choices are kind of made for us, but Mike's guidance is absolutely 100% appropriate here. We do need to step back and also step in. And what I mean by that is we need to step back and see the broad context that we've uncovered here and start to examine network traffic flows, right, to figure out potentially where these either individual or collectively rogue systems may be operating. There may be more than one, and it may be in more than one location across our network. And so I would like to ultimately play our policy card around deploying some of our network monitoring tools, NetFlow, Rita, et cetera, right? Zeke, there's a bunch there depending on what we're doing. They're there somewhere. They're over there. There they are. So I'd like to call that policy card in and then take a shot at rolling to see where we wind up.
All right, so go ahead and give us a roll. Let's see what you find. Whoops. I've lost control of my desktop. There we go.
All good?
Whoa!
Nice.
You didn't even need a policy or procedure on an 18. All right, so you take a look at the network and you actually find a couple of different things. You do see where some kind of a device is jumping in and overriding the behavior of other devices. There's a bit of a masquerade attack going on. You can see that traffic in your security tools. And you can track that down to a particular MAC address on the network. So you've got some really good visibility in seeing this. In looking at the network traffic, you can also see a steady flow of HTTPS traffic coming from a particular host that you don't recognize, that wasn't there in previous days. And what you've actually done is identified the command and control and exfiltration of the attacker. So a rogue device of some sort is on the network, and it is intercepting and masquerading as devices. And when a host or somebody connects to it, it is gathering data and flowing it back out, and you can clearly see that happening on the network due to your excellent roll. All right, so with that knowledge in hand, now we kind of have a feel for what's going on, right? We can make some assumptions. An attacker is on the network. An attacker is performing a masquerade attack of some sort. An attacker is exfiltrating data. Now we've got to start trying to formulate a solution. And before we move on to that, what are you guys thinking? Like what would be a solution for how you'd want to handle this? Not worrying about policies and procedures.
You know, I'll jump in. I'll say I need to know where that HTTPS traffic is coming from. Maybe we can trace it down. I know Ronnie, the network guy, can maybe tell me what port that thing is connected to. We can figure out where it is physically in the building. I don't know if that would help us. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think we'd have to identify where it is and then seeing if there's anything else running on that device as well that may indicate where it might have come from as too. So yeah, that's what I would do.
Maybe we can shut that port down, something, at least stop it from interfering.
Right.
Now it's interesting because our storyline indicates it's a new device, right? One we had not seen several days ago, or perhaps last time we checked and had a reason to look, which means it's not an existing device that has been compromised, but rather potentially may be some sort of a new device that has been introduced, which is a compromise concern, but it may be a virtual device that has been deployed that we may not have seen, or it could be a physical device that has been brought in and somehow turned on or made available. Maybe it's a cellular device that's connected, or a mobile device, a tablet of some kind that's been set up. Could be a variety of things. But if it's not an existing device that has been somehow compromised, but rather a new device that may have been introduced, I would be thinking there are some different things we need to be doing if that's the case. So it's interesting and something I would definitely pick up on, because it really does push us into a slightly different direction. Still where Mike and Ronnie are thinking, but we would take some different steps to expand our discussion and thought process to find that device if it is new and not a repurposed device that has been compromised.
All right, well, you guys are definitely on the right track, and I will tell you, we're at the halfway point of this game. You've got a good idea of what's going on the network. Now it's time to transition to stop it. So why don't we take a brief break here and hear a word from our sponsors, and when we get back, we're going to see how you guys do at stopping it.
This is Josh. Josh spent $2,500 on a week of classroom training for CompTIA A+ and got certified. Josh got a good job that pays $40,000 per year. This is Jeremy. Jeremy only spent $299 on a full year of training from ITProTV, including A+ and 300 other courses. Jeremy also got a great job that pays $40,000 per year. Jeremy used the more than $2,200 he saved on IT training for a fabulous tropical vacation. Now, Jeremy is still using his ITProTV membership to study for Network Plus and Security Plus to advance his career, but not spending any more money, since all three are included in his ITProTV membership, plus 300 more courses. Don't be like Josh. Choose ITProTV for your IT training.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Well, we are moving into the second half of our game. In the first half, our intrepid adventurers managed to determine exactly, well, not necessarily exactly, but what type of attack was being performed. So they know a little bit about what's going on. They know that somebody is pulling off a broadcast or multicast poisoning attack. We also know that they are exfiltrating data using HTTPS and that is an ongoing thing. The attack is not stopped, so while they have detected it, they haven't actually stopped it yet, and that's going to be the second half of our game. We left off with Adam having found out really a lot about the attack, and now we're transitioning back over to Ronnie on the network side to see what exactly he's going to come up with to help stop the attack. So Ronnie, what are we doing?
We're not using the procedure card. I don't think the legal team's going to help us in trying to do what we need to at this point. So with everything that we've learned so far, I think that some advice from the other team members actually is getting us to that point of needing to isolate that device. And once we isolate that device, we then can determine what it actually is doing, so that we can block that particular traffic from our network from maybe again continuing to cause that issue. And if we do, and then we find out maybe the issue goes away, we might have learned something else as well that can lead us to further more knowledge towards that point of either initial compromise or our persistence in what's going on.
Sure, and like what type of techniques would you use to isolate a device?
So if I can find it, since we do know the MAC address, I would probably just go ahead, if possible, right, as unplug that particular device from the network, if that's actually if that's one of those devices. So if not, I'm trying to think of what would be the best situation to do at that point, but should be able to find it and isolate it in that term. In other words, somehow either isolate it to a VLAN that nothing else is on, or if it's wireless, then try and turn that device, someplace else that, or I might even turn that thing off if I need to. So that's what I'm thinking.
All right, well, you're gonna flex your networking muscle. Let's get a roll of the die and see how you do. And this is not using any procedure, and I had forgotten to flip it over, but endpoint analysis is available again. Not necessarily something that would benefit you unless you can bend it to your will.
Not working. That was terrible.
Right. So you start taking a look at the logs, start digging around, maybe some MAC address tables or whatever, trying to track it down. Unfortunately, what you find is that it looks like whatever this device is seems to be rotating MAC addresses. And so it's making it a little bit hard to nail down exactly where it's coming from. You've got to be quick to be able to find it and locate it. And unfortunately, you are not quick enough, Ronnie.
Nope.
So that one is going to result in our first failure, which is pretty impressive, 5 rolls. On a positive side, even if you'd used a policy or procedure, it'd still be a failure. It's not really a positive side, I guess. But
That's positive, yeah.
All right, so what excuse would you give to Mike so that he can try and
I'm
help?
a dummy. I don't know what I'm doing. Help me, Mike. No, Mike, I would try and see, like, what would I do here? Try and trace down what it is that could be causing that. So it seems like we're getting a flooding of different MAC addresses onto the switch. So I'd try and figure something like that out. What that device is causing is something like that.
All right. See what we can do. It's going to be a tough one, right? I mean, we still have to figure out how they got in the first place, that initial compromise, and we've still got persistence that we are trying to figure out how they're staying in there.
And Mike, think about this like in real life land. Like, you've looked at your servers, and your servers appear to be fine. We know it's a network-based attack, so it's kind of out of your hands. Like, as a sysadmin, you can say, not my problem, right?
My stuff's good. I don't know what you guys are doing over there, but my stuff's okay.
But as a concerned employee, you might be looking for some way that you can jump in and assist that might even be outside of the scope of what you normally do. So so be creative. What can you do to help?
Well, let's see. I thought I liked where we were going. I do think Adam might be onto something. This might be a new device that's being plugged into our network, and if it is, then it's got to get some configuration information. Unless this person knows our network config, right, and they can statically map information, thinking it's getting some. So maybe I go back to my servers and look and see if I can see any new devices that have been added. Looking at, say, DHCP logs. Are there any new devices popping up? Can I look at some of those IP address mappings and see if we can figure out. I don't know if that's going to help us anyway, but I'll try to help the team.
All right, let's get a roll and see how that
I don't
turns
know
out.
if that's is server analysis back in the picture?
It has been
yet.
3 turns, so server analysis is back on.
Can I throw that on there if we're looking at DHCP logs?
If they're DHCP servers, sure.
Let's do it. Here we go.
I'll flip that one back over.
Yes.
Lucky number 13. You didn't even need the procedure. So,
Wait, I take it back. We don't need to use it.
too late. Already gone. Burned it. All right. So, looking at your various logs and digging through the information, you absolutely see that there is there's new devices all the time. But one in particular stands out. You guys have identified a handful of MAC addresses that have been used in the various attacks, and you can see those showing up in the DHCP log in a few different places. And you see a DHCP host name that is OpenWRT dash followed by a what appears to be a unique identifier, and that just kind of pops up attached to each of these MAC addresses that are appearing in the logs. So you find out some pretty good information there. Not a whole lot to act on, but a hint as to what to be looking for.
I like it.
All right. So that is going to transition us back to Adam. And Mike, do you have any tidbits you want to hand off to him?
Yeah, I definitely want to let him know that we did find that information, and maybe we're looking for rogue access points or something along those lines.
Okay.
But again, my servers are clean, so I'm good.
There'll be something extra in your envelope at the end of the month, Mike.
Thank you, sir.
All right. So, if we are still, I think, pretty broad in terms of where we might be with this, but we know it's definitely a rogue device. It could be rogue access point or points. It's also equally possible it could be one or more devices connecting through our existing infrastructure. I'm thinking there may be some scripts that are running and malicious content that's being introduced, but we'd have to find the endpoints before we can figure out what's happening with that. So we're still back to this idea of having to zero in on this endpoint or these endpoints, right, based on the MAC addresses and whatever we found in the logs. Are we allowed to perhaps just ask a follow-up question about what we found in the logs before we decide on where to go?
Sure. And just to point out, sorry, I'm doing a bad job of flipping the cards back. The security tools are back to being available again.
Good.
But you guys have successfully reviewed the log. So what additional information did you want to get out of them?
Well, you mentioned we found DHCP registrations, open WRT, whatever unique identifier. I was wondering if we are using any kind of IP zoning or any kind of IP assignments that would allow us to narrow down where these device or devices may be located as part of our review.
Sure. So in your company, you actually have separate DHCP pools set up for each floor of your building, and that the IP addresses that seem to be being grabbed here are all in the pool attached to the accounting floor, where the accounting department is.
Okay, so that is certainly very helpful. Mike, that means there'll be nothing extra in your envelope at the end of the month, apparently. So if we're zeroing in now, not just on potentially what is happening, but probably easily a location, but also perhaps an indicator of some broader things, maybe how things have come in, perhaps what they're targeting, and what may be unique cover activity associated with some broader implications around data mining and exfiltration. So a lot of interesting stuff just by telling us that. I would like to go in and it's covering the dice. I'm assuming that is endpoint analysis. I'm just trying to look on my screen, but I see up there it is still available. So I think we have 2 ways to go. I'm gonna ask for a little guidance from our team, but let me quickly explain my 2 thought processes. We could throw some endpoint analysis at machines in and around the accounting area because we may very well find what we're looking for there, clearly based on our IP addressing. We also could be using some some traffic analysis tools to essentially do the same thing and then perhaps zero in on one or more machines. But we kind of have an idea based on our MAC address is now our DHCP information, our verification of the DHCP pools, that we pretty much know where we're looking at this point. So I'm thinking some endpoint analysis would probably be really helpful on systems there. But I think we could go either way, because I think we do converge and wind up in the same place. It's just a matter of how we approach it. So I'm going to ask the rest of my very knowledgeable team here what they feel would be our next step. Are we thinking endpoint analysis first, or are we thinking deploy some additional server monitoring, traffic monitoring, tools before we do some endpoint analysis?
I'm not the security guy, but I feel like maybe some of our security tools might get us closer faster. I don't know how many endpoints are on this floor on accounting. Almost looks like, or almost feels like needle in a haystack. Whereas maybe something like Rita or something like that can get us a little closer first. Just my 2 cents.
Yeah.
Okay. All
I
right.
like it.
Okay. And like I said, I think we wind up in the same place. It's a question of just how we start out the journey, but taking the shorter path can certainly be helpful. So let's go with deploying some of our network monitoring tools. We'll use that policy. And do we have to call out a specific tool? We get the whole suite, right, Don? We don't have to use any one in particular?
Yeah, let's keep this one vague.
Okay, we'll just use any and all tools that may present themselves. Outstanding. Let me give a roll here.
Nice.
Looks like a 9, right?
Policy saved you on that one, so your +3 will give you a 12. Let me flip that one over. And I'm glad you kept it vague. It's a bit of a stretch going to the endpoint. Like, try and locate something else on the device. It reminds me of like Batman taking over all the cell phones, and I'll find the Joker somehow. So you take a look, and you know what? Your company has done a phenomenal job of maintaining a baseline of what ports are normally active, what ports aren't, what MAC addresses you expect to have, and when something new creeps up. And you can find through digging through some of your security tools that there is an active port on the accounting floor, an actual Ethernet port on one of the switches that is active right now that normally wouldn't be, and that these extra communications are coming from a device that wouldn't normally be there. And so this is a physical device on the accounting floor that is newly introduced into your environment. You don't know necessarily exactly where it is physically. You have an idea where the wall jack is that it's plugged into, but that's about it.
Okay. All right.
Awesome.
So definitely narrowing down our field of focus. So great help from our team. And I guess just the only thing I would throw over to Ronnie before he takes over would be just the information we shared and the fact that we now probably need him to be going in and figuring out, number one, how we can limit and cut off that traffic through the switch, and then how we can zero in on that device and begin to understand what's going on with it.
All right, now quick word of warning. That is the end of our 7th turn. You guys have 3 turns. That means everybody gets 1 turn left. You have got to find the initial compromise, and you've got to find persistence. Fortunately, in the case of a physical device, a lot of times those go hand in hand. We'll see, but this is going to be the last turn for each person. So, Ronnie, the heat is on.
Yeah, so if we can isolate it to a port, I would try and isolate that device, again, either by pulling that port onto a separate VLAN itself, or by simply shutting it off and then trying to trace it out physically to say I can isolate what that device is going to be. That's what I would say.
Okay, so are you going the route of just remotely isolating the device, or are you going to go and physically find it and unplug it?
So I'm saying, get up there, Ronnie.
Yeah, I think I would try at this point too. Yeah, I think I would try and physically unplug it. I was going to say, I don't know, but yeah, I'll do that.
All right, let's go ahead and get that roll. Now, you laid an egg last time.
It's probably going to happen again. Oh, what is it? Is that a 6 or a 9? I can't tell. Either one, it doesn't matter.
Either one, it doesn't matter. All right, you go down to accounting, and you know where this wall jack is, but there are massive metal file cabinets that have been put in front of the wall jack, and so you can't see where the cable runs coming out of it. you spend some time rooting around,
Yeah.
but the clock is ticking, and you are not able to find that physical device. And yeah, that's where it is.
Let's leave it to Mike. I mean,
Great. I'm going to bring some friends with me, and we're going to move those file cabinets.
unplug them all.
Well, we joke that might actually be your best course of action. You know it's there somewhere.
Plug it from the switch side. I mean, what?
Yeah, what are you guys thinking? I don't think any of our procedures are going to help us at this point. Panic mode and crisis management won't do it yet. We can't find the endpoint to analyze it. Servers are good. So again, I really think finding that actual device is going to help us, because that is our initial compromise. They plugged a device into our network, and it's how they're maintaining the persistence, is because it's still plugged in. So we've got to get that thing off our network. So yeah, I'm going to say that now that we know there are large metal objects in our way, we're going to grab the dollies and go back up there. So I'm going to roll, and no procedures. We're just going to try to get it again.
If I could, before we roll.
Yep.
I think
Please.
we need to certainly do that, but I'm also thinking that the device may actually be sitting in one of those metal filing cabinets in one of the drawers. It may not even be plugged in behind it, especially if those have been placed there. It's possible that somebody could have hidden the device simply by burrowing it into the filing cabinet, which may or may not make it easier for us to move, but I can promise you that it's a great way to hide a device, especially.
Well, if it's attached to that port, does it not have to have a cable going into that port at this point?
It does have a cable going into the wall jack, but you can't even see the wall jack because somebody's
Right,
put cabinets
okay.
in front of it.
But it could easily have been that somebody just drilled out the back of the drawer, right? Just ran the cable out through the back to make it non-obvious. I'm just pointing out, we probably want to examine the filing cabinets as well as move them out of the way.
Okay. All right. I like that idea. All right. So Don, what we're going to do is we are going to really take a closer look at this filing cabinets, look for maybe a wire leading up the wall into the ceiling tiles. I mean, we know it's into that port. We just don't know how it's getting into that port. It's got to be there. So open all the drawers, look for extraneous wires coming out, whatever we can do.
Now, I'm tempted here. I doubt any company has a policy or procedure that dictates moving cabinets. But OSHA does, right? so should you get a bonus for applying safety standards?
Probably, because Adam has saved my back from trying to move those filing cabinets.
Right.
Or just open the drawers.
Start with the obvious, right?
All right, let's get the roll, see what you find. Hopefully you roll better than Ronnie.
All right. Here we go.
It's a 10. That is a fail.
It's all up to Adam. That's right.
All right, Adam, you got this.
Unfortunately, the cabinets are locked and they are very, very heavy. and you might have a minor hernia now. So we'll put that one down on the card. I don't have a little checkbox for that. Minor hernia.
You should.
That'll be in Backdoors Breaches 2nd edition. All right, so
I'm thinking thermite, and then we kind of just walk away and claim victory is what I'm thinking.
Locksmith? I don't know, yeah.
All right, so we only have one roll, so let's just be brutally honest here. Regardless of what I suggest, unless I say we're going to move everything, we're going to find it, unplug it, and do a forensic examination of it all at once, which is not realistic. There's really no way we can actually win this on the last roll, because we have to find the device as well as understand the compromise and persistence, right?
Let me consult the networking guy. If we know what port it is, that port's being patched down in the server closet, can we unplug it from that side?
Yeah, or we can just turn off that port.
Well, we can, but
that doesn't help us find the device, does it?
That will not allow us to understand persistence. And it doesn't necessarily get us closer to initial compromise either. All it does is tell us that the port is no longer active, but we don't understand how it got there, and we don't understand how it's maintaining, other than the fact it's using the port itself, right? Which kind of would be something we should have already seen if it was just persistence based on mapping to the port alone. That card should have already flipped over. So there's probably more going on there. That's what I'm thinking than just unplugging it. So I'm willing to throw something out and give it a roll, but I'm also admitting that we're probably not going to be successful on this last roll no matter what we do. But I do think that certainly getting this off the network would be the next logical step, right? We've tried to physically move the stuff for whatever reasons it hasn't helped or worked or whatever. So I think we do need to go physically get this off of the network by going to the wiring closet or that particular connection point. We need to get that port deactivated and remove the device so that way we can then zero in on examining it once we have isolated it, right? We want to prevent any further compromise and then work backwards to figure out how this initially happened. So I'm going to go with that. I don't think we need a policy for that. We just need Ronnie to go in and get in there and do it. So I'll throw endpoint analysis up there just because we might as well use a policy. We know we have a MAC address and we can do some analysis using some tools against MAC addresses, even though they are rotating. Let's assume we get lucky and we're quick enough to be able to find something before Ronnie deactivates the port.
Okay. All right. It's a stretch, but let's do it. Let's.
Will the DM allow that?
I've got nothing else because we're gonna go down in flames here no matter what.
Darn it! I should have used anything on my lap.
I could have called crisis management in as well and told them to get the physical filing cabinet movers to come in, but
actually, I think that's maybe more a better approach. Is you'll get the attorneys to come help move the cabinets. How about that?
I know I did use a policy, so we get a +3, so we are above the threshold.
All right. Well, I think we're fudging the numbers a little bit here, but we'll run with it. So you are able to actually locate a device, and what you find is that someone has run a cable from this jack. Somehow they were able to successfully roll more than a 10 and move the filing cabinets. The cable runs into Tom, one of the accountant's offices. And in there, you find an old Linksys WRT54G wireless router plugged into the jack. And you see Tom sitting there at his laptop working wirelessly, extremely happy because he was able to move his desk to the other side of the office to afford him a better view. All right. So at this point, you have technically found the initial compromise. You have located a rogue device on the network. Bring your own exploited device. Unfortunately, a series of bad rolls have left you not enough turns to find out what it is about the device that is bad, right? So that would be our persistence piece. But if you had a chance to examine it, what you would find, or what you would have found, if you weren't all a bunch of losers, is, is that the device actually has compromised firmware on it. That Tom wanted to be able to use his laptop from a different area where he couldn't plug in. And so he brought in a rogue access point. Your network did not prevent that from happening. He was able to connect wirelessly. He was happy, but the compromised firmware was now attacking your network and exfiltrating data out. So certainly a bad situation. Now, unfortunately, a bad series of rolls led you to not be able to be victorious, but let's pretend for a moment here that that you guys, because it really was just the roll of the dice. You guys had dialed in on there being a rogue device 5 turns ago. So so
Doesn't seem to help.
so in real life land, you've located this rogue device. What would be your logical next steps? We'll go through each person. Let's start with Adam.
So aside from tarring and feathering Tom in the public commons, what we would want to do, right? So seriously though, what we'd want to do is obviously once we've isolated it and we've figured out how to prevent the device from doing any more damage, we'd want to do, in my mind, 3 things. One, we would want to take the device and examine it forensically. We've done that apparently based on your storyline. We understand there's bad firmware in there, but I would want to understand who and what that device is communicating back to. So I'd want to see if there's any way we could understand the outbound traffic flow. It's probably going to some sort of command and control network somewhere, some sort of device that is talking to it. So I want to try to track that back, maybe work through our ISP to look at that traffic as it leaves our network and figure out where it may be going. I'd want to be doing some analysis of the information that may have been compromised on the inside of the network. Tom's in accounting. I'm assuming his laptop is probably compromised. Whatever he has access to is most likely compromised. So we'd start dealing with incident response at that point and understanding that we probably have a significant breach on our hands given what Tom does. And I would be wanting ultimately, as a lesson learned, to focus on security awareness and training across the organization to mitigate the Toms of the future into allowing to make sure they do not feel it's appropriate to do what they did. Focusing on not blaming Tom, but rather making sure we learn from Tom's experience so that we don't have this issue happening again.
Yep, and what you're describing, Adam, would be a lot in line with the one procedure that we weren't able to use this time around, which is crisis management. You've got to get the attorneys involved now. You've got to find what data got exfiltrated. You've got to find out who was affected, and do responsible notification for everything that occurred. So, not where you want to be, but there we go. Now, Ronnie, on your side, while you're not necessarily the security guy, you're the network guy, there's probably things you could have done to have prevented this, right?
Yeah, there's probably a couple of different things, but I was starting to think about the idea of using some type of network access control, of making sure that, those devices that we allow on our network, setting some type of policy is something that can be enforced through the network switch somehow, some type of service that's actually out there. So I would probably reactionarily at this point, if that's actually a word, probably go overboard and just lock down every other device that I think might not benefit us on the network.
Yeah, and there's a number of techniques for that. You mentioned network access control, so like Cisco NAC, which I think is renamed now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whatever it's called. There's just 802.1x authentication on the Ethernet ports. That would have kept the rogue device off. I don't know, but private VLANs, I guess, could have at least isolated the device and not affected other machines. So there's a number of different tools that are out there that probably could have helped. And Mike, how about you? I guess you get to file this in the SEP department, right? Someone else's problem?
That's right, someone else's problem. But going back to my little security training that I've had, along the lines of what Ronnie was saying, I think an easy vulnerability to prevent in the first place, there should not be any ports on the wall that aren't being used that are active, right? You should find any ports that are not being used. They should be turned off. Somebody wants to plug something in one of those ports, they should have to put in a ticket to get that port turned on. Or unplug something else, which is going to hopefully turn on alarms to plug something else in. So there shouldn't be any unmonitored ports that are active. And then right along the lines with what Adam said is the user education. That has to play a big part in it, making sure that they understand if they need something, they can come to us and ask. If he wanted to be able to move to the other side of the office to get a better view, we could have figured out a better solution than bringing in his own home device that had malware loaded up on it.
Mike, you've converted me, because originally I was going to say we should fire Adam because he's a security guy, but now it's obvious that we should fire Ronnie.
That's right.
All right. Well,
sorry, Ronnie.
I think in this scenario, you were on the right track. You located pretty quickly what was going on. That first card flipped over real fast, but then you were just thwarted on a physical level by a row of filing cabinets, which sadly is a very realistic thing. So
we're going to start a new exercise program at the office here.
Yeah, better luck next time. All right, well, thank you guys for playing. It's a fun little exercise to go through and see some of the different things that companies run through. Obviously, if we had a better set of policies and procedures in place that were a little more robust, we would have had some better roles and a faster success, which stresses the importance of having good policies and procedures in place. All right, well, quick reminder to you, the viewer out there in TV land. If you had fun watching these guys lose, imagine how much fun it would be for you to lose as well. You can do that and play with us here on ITProTV. All you have to do is type, "I want to play" in the chat room, and we'll gather all those names up and select a lucky viewer or viewers. Hopefully we get to do it more than once, and give you guys a chance to come and play live with us on ITProTV. You'll remote in just like Adam and the gang are doing right now, and get a chance to play. We are going to be playing Backdoors and Breaches again here in 2 weeks on May 22nd. Be sure to tune in because we've got some special guests coming in, including John Strand, the CEO of Black Hills InfoSec. And so it is going to be a really good time. You'll definitely want to catch that. And it'll hopefully be another scenario where you've got really smart people in the room that know exactly what to do, but can't roll a die to save their life. So, all right. Well, everybody, thank you for joining us. Thank you, Mike, Adam, and Ronnie, for playing and being a good sport about it. And thank you, the viewers, for tuning in. But that's going to be the end of our game. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for watching Backdoors and Breaches. Remember the coupon code GAMESHOW30 to get 30% off. We'll see you next time.
I'm James Packer. I'm the General Manager of Kirk ISS based in the Cayman Islands. I used ITProTV extensively in my last place. It grew very well, helped upskill the team. I had 110 engineers in the field and we had dozens of IT Pro accounts with the guys training, and last year alone they passed over 40 certs by using the online training. I think I can safely say without ITProTV I wouldn't be where I was today, because I only got this job on the back of the qualifications I have.
Do you know what's better than being an ITProTV member? Being a member for free. Hi, I'm Don Pezet, co-founder and edutainer here at ITProTV. Once you sign up for an ITProTV personal membership subscription, you'll automatically be part of our referral program. Then all you have to do is share your personal referral link and code with your friends and colleagues. Every time one signs up, you get money off your subscription. Sign up enough and your membership is free. That's right, access to all your favorite IT training, totally free. Kind of feels like stealing, doesn't it? Check out the link below to learn how to get your code and start sharing today.